going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about The Fog. This movie is on Amazon Prime right now. That's how I watched it. It came out in 1980. It is directed by John Carpenter, and there is a slew of John Carpenter connections in this movie. This is, I believe, the first collaboration between John Carpenter and Adrienne Barbeau. She later showed up in Escape from New York and was also a voice in The Thing, and I feel like there's probably been some more connections between them, but I don't know. Tom Atkins from Halloween 3 was in this. Also from Halloween 3, Dean Cundey, who was, I believe, the DP in Halloween 3, he was involved with this. The guy who directed Halloween 3, whose name I cannot remember, he was an editor on this movie. We also had Jamie Lee Curtis here, and then that might be it for the John Carpenter connections. Deborah Hill, who was a co-producer and a producer on many of John Carpenter's films, she was involved with this. But we also had Jamie Lee Curtis's mom, the actress who was in Psycho. Is it Janet Leigh? Is that her name? She's in this. I'm trying to think of some other big names that were in this. I can't think of any other really big names, but I had never seen this before, and fairly recently, Red Letter Media, specifically Rich Evans and Jay Bauman, they have been ranking all of the John Carpenter movies, and I guess I never knew that this movie, I think I had heard of it before, but I never knew it was directed by John Carpenter, and I think Jay and Rich both ranked The Fog kind of low, and so I went into this movie with relatively low expectations, but I actually really enjoyed this movie. I think it has a really excellent atmosphere. This is one of the creepiest movies that I have watched in recent memory. I really, really love just how this movie makes you feel. I will say, I think one complaint from Jay and Rich was that the movie is kind of slow in getting where it wants to go, and I will agree with that. It's a very short movie, clocking in at an hour and a half, and at one point I paused to go get some cake to eat, and I saw that I was already like 2/3 of the way done with the movie, but it felt like we were still like just finishing up the first act of the movie. It takes a while to introduce all of the characters. The plot of the movie, I guess I should talk about that at some point. It is a small Northern California town, somewhere on the coast. It's a port town, and sometime, I guess 100 years ago, there were, spoilers, by the way. I'm just going to spoil the movie. If you haven't seen it, if you are interested in John Carpenter movies, I am, for the most part. I really like Escape from New York. I like The Thing. I like Halloween okay. I like They Live pretty good. If you like John Carpenter movies, then you may want to go ahead and check this one out. So go ahead and turn off this video right now if you haven't seen this movie. Okay, so 100 years ago, there was a leper colony that wanted to move in kind of close to this town in California. And then the preacher and some other people ended up killing the lepers and taking their gold. And so now, 100 years later, the ghosts of the leper colony are coming in with the fog, and then they are killing people. And at one point, there's this kid, he finds a piece of driftwood. It was part of a ship, and at one point, the driftwood, he gives it to his mom, and then at one point, it says on there, 6 will die, or something like that. And the mom is Adrienne Barbeau. She is a disc jockey for this small town, and then you start to figure out, oh, okay, the ghosts are going to kill 6 people, because at the almost very beginning of the movie, they kill 3 people on a boat. And so the whole time, this movie is like a ticking bomb, where you know that danger is coming. You know that 3 people are going to die, but you're being introduced to this huge, I won't say huge, a pretty big cast of characters. It kind of feels like a Stephen King story in a good way. I have said before that I am something of a lapsed Stephen King fan. Stephen King, I think, excels at that small town feeling with a decent-sized cast of characters, more on the ensemble side than a singular main character. But even in his stories with a singular main character, I'm thinking kind of like Salem's Lot, you've still kind of got that ensemble vibe. That is what's going on here. You've got several groups of characters, and even though most of them all kind of intersect at the end, you still don't really feel like all of these characters are together in this story. They're all kind of going through this story separately, and I kind of like that. I like getting to know these characters, and then because they are all roughly equally important, whenever we find out, oh, okay, three of them have died, and three more are going to die, I'm sitting there thinking, who's going to die? And I'm really curious, and I won't say I'm especially attached to any of the characters, but at the same time, especially towards the end, whenever several of our characters are trying to figure out what's going on, there's one scare that really got me. I will go ahead and say there's some characters who are in the foreground of the shot, and then in the background you see a glass door, and you see a shadow start to show up behind the door, and I was like, no, like I knew what was coming, and I wanted to stop it, and I couldn't, and that really got me. Since I have said before that most horror movies don't really scare me, this one got me good in that one scene. All the other scenes aren't especially scary, but the atmosphere is still really good. And sometimes actual scares aren't necessarily what you need, but spookiness is something that a movie will deliver. Connor Nielsen, my co-host on the podcast we did on Halloween 3, he said that the movie isn't really scary, but it is spooky. And I will say the same thing for The Fog. I think that this movie really delivers on the spookiness, even though other than that one scene that really got me, and actually there was another scene where as soon as the shot started, I was like, no, this is going to happen. No. And then it happened, and the whole time I was like telling myself, stop, I don't want this to happen. So there were two scenes that really got me. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot to say. The movie is a little gingerly paced. Like I said, at one point when I realized, oh wow, we're like an hour into the movie and we're getting close to the end, and it still felt like we were getting introduced to characters. But other than that, I think this movie really works for me. I have said this before. I think this movie would have worked as a miniseries. You would have to add a lot more plot. You'd have to really shuffle around some plot stuff to make it work. But if you wanted to do like a Twin Peaksy thing, where you're taking a while, introducing all of your characters, and then you say, okay, this character's got a thing with this character over here, and then this character's doing something over here with this character, and then you introduce the subplot of the fog and specifically the ghosts that are coming in for revenge, then I think that could really work. I know they remade this in the early 2000s with Tom Welling. I have not seen that. I've heard that it's not very good, but then again, I heard that this wasn't very good, and I really like this movie, so now I want to see the Tom Welling version. I want to see what that's like. But I will say, if you are like me, most of the time I tend to, I don't want to say overthink, because that makes it seem like I'm just being nitpicky, and I feel like movies, you should be able to think about them without the whole thing just falling apart, so I won't say that I am unjustly nitpicking most of the time, but if you're like me and you tend to overthink the plot, we'll just say that, in movies, you might not enjoy this. At one point I was asking myself, okay, we have these ghosts of this leper colony that was murdered 100 years ago. Why did they wait 100 years to get their revenge? I don't know. Why did they specifically choose the victims that they chose? At one point, they are looking through the priest of this town. His grandfather, spoilers again, his grandfather was one of the people who murdered these lepers and stole their gold. And at one point, like, several characters are all talking over each other. And at one point, I think I heard one of them say that the ghosts are coming after the descendants of the people who murdered them. And I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense. We don't get that set up earlier in the movie, but when you're looking at all of the people who have died up until now, I'm thinking, okay, that probably makes sense, except at one point, the ghosts are going after Adrienne Barbeau, and I'm pretty sure she was an out-of-towner who had moved into this town somewhat recently, like in her lifetime. And so I'm asking myself, okay, why are they going after Adrienne Barbeau? And this is at a point in the movie where they have already killed 5 people, and there's only supposed to be one more victim left, and they are storming the lighthouse where Adrienne Barbeau is at, but they're also storming the church where all of our other characters are at. And so then I'm asking myself, okay, are they going to kill 7? Are there rules in this? If they kill 6, are they done? Do they have to stop? What if they haven't yet gotten what they're after? I'm not really sure. Are they going to have to wait another 100 years if they don't get what they're after? And why is them getting what they're after, why does that stop them? And you know, maybe some spoilers there, it kind of doesn't. Also, at one point, we are told that these ghosts are only active from midnight to 1 a.m. Why? Why are they only active in that time period? So, if you are like me and you tend to ask yourself these questions that the movie either doesn't care to answer or didn't realize it was setting up plot holes like that, you might not enjoy this movie as much. I will say, even though those questions occurred to me while watching it, I still really enjoy this movie. I loved it. I would even say I would rank this up there with The Thing and Escape from New York. I think this is just really solid. So I will definitely be watching this in the future. And if you've never seen it before, like I said, I am what you would call a casual John Carpenter fan. I haven't seen all of his movies. I've seen like 6 of them, maybe. And of the ones that I've seen, I'd say I like about half of them really well. I would say this is definitely in the top half for me. So that's about all that I have to say about The Fog. I hope you guys liked this review, and I will talk to you guys in the future with another video. In the meantime, have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.